Okay, so you've probably heard all the buzz about quantum computing, right?
Yeah,
It's like the superpowered future of computers, or at least that's what they say.
right.
Well, this article from the Motley Fool, they argue that IonQ might be the company to invest in.
Interesting.
Even though their stock price has recently taken a bit of a dip,
Okay.
they actually call it a rare all-in buy alert,
Wow.
which sounds pretty intense to me. So let's unpack this. What makes IonQ so special, at least according to this article?
Well, what I found fascinating here is how they position IonQ not just within tech, but as like a potential solution to some really complex problems we're facing.
Okay.
Drug development, cybersecurity, AI. These are all fields that are, ripe for disruption.
Right, yeah.
And the article highlights IonQ's 32-qubit platform.
Okay, now I have to admit, I'm not totally sure I understand what a qubit oven is.
So imagine a qubit as the building block of a quantum computer.
Okay.
Unlike your computer's bits, which are either a 0 or a 1, a qubit can be both at the same time.
Whoa.
It's this mind-bending property that allows quantum computers to tackle problems that would take classical computers, like millions of years, to solve.
It's like they're operating on a whole other level.
Exactly.
And this article even mentions that they're working with the U.S. government on a new system.
Through IOLS, yeah.
Which is a government agency specializing in intelligence and security, from what I understand.
Right.
That's a pretty powerful endorsement, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, it definitely adds a layer of credibility.
It does. However, the article does point out that IonQ isn't profitable yet.
That's true.
And that does raise a red flag for me, at least a little bit. We're talking about a company that's supposed to be leading the pack, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider. I mean, profitability is, crucial for any sustainable business.
Right.
But the article does address this, and
Yeah.
they counter that concern by highlighting what they call IonQ's 99.999% fidelity.
Okay, now, again, I got to be honest, fidelity. What does that even mean in this context?
So in simple terms, it basically means their system has an incredibly high accuracy rate,
Okay.
which is almost unheard of in the quantum computing world. This level of reliability could be a total game changer, especially for industries dealing with massive amounts of data.
Because it reduces errors?
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
It significantly reduces errors in calculation.
Okay, so it's like they're saying, sure, we're not profitable yet, but we've got the most reliable system out there.
It seems that way, yeah.
It's almost as if IonQ is this hidden gem poised to explode in value once everyone understands what they've got. At least that's how the Motley Fool seems to be framing it.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be big believers.
They actually suggest that IonQ's current low stock price is because people just don't get quantum computing yet,
Yeah, I can see that. It's still a pretty complex and new field for a lot of people.
and that by 2034, they predict the market will be worth a staggering $16 billion.
Wow.
So I guess the big question for anyone listening is, do you buy into the hype?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. The article argues that IonQ is uniquely positioned to capitalize on this burgeoning market, especially given their partnership with the University of Maryland, which I guess is a major hub for quantum computing research.
They're doing some really interesting work there.
But of course, it's crucial to remember that every investment has its risks.
Always, always.
Absolutely. It's like that saying, if it sounds too good to be true.
Right.
We're not offering financial advice here.
No, definitely not.
Just, some seriously interesting food for thought.
Absolutely.
So with that in mind, let's dig a little deeper into IonQ. The article mentions that they're considered a pure play in the quantum computing field. What exactly does that mean, and why is it significant?
So pure play is a term investors use to describe companies that are entirely focused on a single industry or product. In IonQ's case, they've put all their eggs in the quantum computing basket. They're not trying to be everything to everyone, which can be both a blessing and a curse.
It's like going all in on a poker hand. High risk, high reward. But in IonQ's case, that laser focus does seem to be attracting attention.
It does, and that's where the pure play aspect gets interesting. It means their entire focus is on becoming a leader in quantum computing, which can be very appealing to investors who believed in the transformative potential of this technology.
So for someone looking at IonQ, this pure play approach is something to factor into their assessment. Do they believe in this laser-focused approach, or would they prefer a company with a more diversified portfolio? It's a question only you can answer, but it's definitely something to consider as you do your research. Now let's switch gears for a moment and talk about the risks involved. Investing in any company, especially one in a cutting-edge field like quantum computing, has inherent risks. What are some of the key risks associated with IonQ that stood out to you from the article?
Well, the article highlights a few key risks. One of the biggest they talk about is competition. While IonQ is definitely a frontrunner, they're not alone in this whole quantum computing race, right?
Right.
You've got other companies, even like the tech giants, like your IBMs and your Googles, they're pouring resources into this field too.
It's like a high-stakes tech showdown, like everyone's vying for a piece of the quantum pie.
Exactly.
So besides their impressive accuracy rate, which we talked about, what makes IonQ stand out from all these other companies?
That's where the article really emphasizes IonQ's partnerships.
Okay.
And they give the example of their collaboration with the University of Maryland,
Right.
which gives them access to not only cutting-edge research, but also a pipeline of top talent, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And then on top of that, you've got their work with R. Alecus. This partnership suggests that IonQ's technology is already being integrated into, highly sensitive government applications.
That's a good point.
So
It's one thing to have, groundbreaking tech, but it's another to have the trust of institutions like the U.S. government.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
That says something.
6 volumes.
Yeah, it really does about their credibility.
Yeah.
But, we talked about this a little bit earlier. We can't ignore the elephant in the room, profitability.
Right.
The article acknowledges that IonQ is not yet in the black, which, that's a pretty significant consideration for any potential investor.
Absolutely. And it's a classic dilemma, right? For these companies operating at the bleeding edge.
Yeah.
Developing really revolutionary technology requires a ton of upfront investment,
Right.
which often means that these companies operate at a loss for, sometimes a pretty extended period.
Yeah.
And, investors understand this to a certain extent, but they also want to see a return on their investment eventually.
Of course.
So it's a delicate balancing act.
It's a long game and definitely not for those seeking quick returns.
Mhm.
However, the article does point out that IonQ is projecting revenue of about $40 million this year,
Yeah, I saw that.
which is a pretty significant jump from $22 million last year.
That's pretty substantial.
That kind of growth is hard to ignore, wouldn't you say?
It is. It suggests a growing demand for their technology, which is always encouraging, but
Yeah.
it's crucial to remember that revenue and profit are not the same thing.
Right.
IonQ still needs to demonstrate that they can actually convert that revenue into profit.
Right. So that's the million-dollar question.
Right. When will they start turning a profit, and how long can they actually sustain operations without one?
So how should, I guess, someone who's listening, how should an investor weigh all these different factors, the potential, the risks, the hype surrounding IonQ?
Right.
What questions should they be asking themselves before, taking the plunge?
Well, I think ultimately it boils down to your personal risk tolerance and investment timeline, right?
Okay.
Are you comfortable with the volatility that's inherent in the tech sector, especially within, such a new field like this?
Right.
Are you willing to potentially be patient and weather, the inevitable ups and downs?
Yeah.
If the answer is yes to those, then IonQ might warrant a closer look.
Right.
But always remember, right? Don't base your decisions solely on one article or one source. Do your research, due diligence, all of that.
Speaking of digging deeper, the article briefly mentioned IonQ's 64-qubit system.
Yes.
Is that like their next big thing?
It is. It is. Think of the 64-qubit system as like the souped-up version of their current technology.
Okay.
Even faster, even more powerful. And they're aiming to, launch a commercially usable version by 2025.
Okay.
Which would be a significant milestone.
Wow. So we've covered a lot, from like mind-bending quantum computers to these prestigious partnerships
That's a lot to take in.
to projections of a multi-billion-dollar market and, of course, the risks of investing in such a cutting-edge new field.
Right, exactly.
That's a lot to digest.
It is. And that's why I think it's so important to break down complex topics like this and really look at, all these different aspects of a company's business.
Yeah.
This article provides a good starting point.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the decision of whether to invest or not is up to the individual, right?
Right.
Does this opportunity actually align with your goals, your risk appetite?
Right. To recap, we've learned that IonQ is a major player in this, rapidly evolving field of quantum computing.
Yeah.
They've got impressive technology, strategic partnerships. However, profitability remains a question mark.
Right.
They face some really stiff competition.
Yes.
It's the classic high-risk, high-reward scenario.
It really is. And that's why understanding IonQ's pure play approach is so crucial here.
Okay.
this really laser focus on just quantum computing
Yeah.
is both a strength and a vulnerability. It's a key factor to consider when you're thinking about your investment decisions.
It's like watching a high-stakes poker game.
Yeah.
You know, IonQ has gone all in, and now all these investors have to decide if they want to buy in and see how the hand plays out.
That's a really good analogy. And just like in poker, understanding the rules of the game, assessing the risks, and determining if the potential rewards are worth the gamble is really paramount.
The Motley Fool, at least, seems ready to bet big on IonQ.
They do.
But, they're just one voice.
Right.
We've given you, hopefully, some good insights from this article.
Yeah.
What about you? What are your thoughts on IonQ based on what we've discussed?
Well, we've explored, the potential, the risks, the competition, the hype. But there's one more really crucial aspect highlighted in this article that's worth considering: how IonQ's technology is actually being used today.
Okay, so you mean beyond, the theoretical possibilities and the hype?
Exactly.
Yeah, how are institutions actually using this stuff today? That's what I'm really curious about.
Right. And that's what I think is really interesting about this article. They actually give some concrete examples of how institutions are already experimenting with and using IonQ's systems.
Okay, like what? What are they using it for?
So, for instance, one area is material science.
Okay.
Where they're looking to, design new materials with properties that we can,
That we can only dream of.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then in drug discovery,
Yeah.
they're using it to simulate molecular interactions, which could potentially lead to faster, more efficient drug development and, life-saving drugs.
Oh, wow. So it's already, having a real impact.
It has the potential to,
That's incredible.
And even in financial modeling,
Okay.
where you're dealing with these complex algorithms, IonQ's technology is being used to, optimize investment strategies and manage risk.
Wow. So it's not just about building these super fast computers. It's also about collaborating
Right.
with experts in all these different fields
Yeah.
to really unlock the potential of this technology.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. It's those partnerships, like the one with the University of Maryland, that become really crucial in this.
It's like they're not just building, a super fast car.
Right.
They're also figuring out how to, navigate it through rush hour traffic.
Exactly.
Making useful in everyday situations.
Yeah, and it's that real-world application that I think is key, because it demonstrates that, okay, they're not just selling some, futuristic fantasy here.
Right.
This is a technology that's making a tangible impact today.
That's a big deal for investors, wouldn't you say?
Huge. It absolutely is.
Not just let's invest in the future of quantum computing. It's no, this is happening now.
Yeah, this is happening now, and they're a part of it.
Yeah, they're on the front lines.
They're shaping the present and the future with this technology.
Oh, exactly.
And it seems like they're ticking all the right boxes.
Yeah.
Strong partnerships, cutting edge technology, clear vision.
It does sound like they've got a lot going for them.
Yeah.
But, as we talked about, investing in any kind of new tech always comes with risks.
Always inherent risks.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, right back to due diligence.
Right. Doing your research.
Don't let the hype or just big predictions be the only thing that drives your decisions. Look beyond the surface.
Right.
Look at their financials. Understand the competitive landscape. Really analyze the progress they're making.
Right. So it's not just about what could be, it's about what is.
Exactly.
Okay. So to wrap things up, I feel like we've unpacked a lot about IonQ.
We really have.
The potential of this whole world of quantum computing, this company's strengths, the challenges, the risks, the rewards for investors.
We've explored how, this pure play approach and this real world application, how those two things really set IonQ apart.
Yeah, and ultimately, whether IonQ is the right investment for you, well, that's a decision only you can make.
It is.
But hopefully this has given you, the listener, enough information, enough of a foundation.
It's a good starting point.
To explore further,
Yeah.
And make an informed decision.
Exactly.
So there you have it.
There you have it.
Another deep dive in the books.
Another one down.
Who knows, your next one might just lead you to the next big thing.
That's right. Happy investing, everyone.
Until then, happy investing.